Welcome to the Not Old Better Show Prevention Magazine Healthy Living Interview Series on radio and podcast. The show covering all things health, wellness, culture, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Welcome to the Not Old Better Show Prevention Magazine Health and Wellness Interview Series on radio and podcast. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and this is the next installment of our series with Marisa Cohen, Deputy Editor at Prevention Magazine. And today, we have another engaging episode in collaboration with Prevention Magazine. We are tackling some of the most pressing health topics crucial to our audience, adults over 60 who are committed to living their best lives. Let's get right into it. We have another packed show. For our July prevention issue overview, Marisa Cohen, Deputy Editor at Prevention Magazine, is with us first. Marisa and I will talk about the July Prevention Magazine highlights, like the subjects of gut health and some interesting facts about our own body health oddities, like eye twitches and losing hair in the shower, plus other is this normal weird moments and which ones you can ignore and which ones you should get checked out. After we speak with Marisa, we'll talk to our feature interview with Prevention Magazine byline columnist and author Meryl Davids Landau. Meryl Davids Landau will join us again. She's been with us before. She's an audience favorite, certainly here. She's going to join us in a few minutes to talk about the link between climate and our brains. But today's episode promises to be both informative and inspiring, tailored to our seasoned listeners who are passionate about living their best lives. Marisa Cohen, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Always great to talk to you.
It's so nice to talk to you, too. You have such a great perspective on Prevention Magazine as deputy editor, and I just enjoy these conversations. And we're going to be talking today about Prevention Magazine's issue for July. So on the cover, which I always love the artwork and all your designs. This is a fantastic cover, but the top...
Shout out to our art director, Jared, who always comes up with the most clever covers and images for that.
Oh, good. Yeah, a definite shout out to Jared on that, because all of the graphics in the magazine are wonderful. I know our audience enjoys them. I always do. But there's some great topics for July, too. I was going to say for this month, but for July coming up, and everybody will have a nice head start on this. But there's this great article we're going to talk to Meryl Davids Landau about. We'll get your take on it, too, in just a moment, the link between climate and our brains. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the In Focus piece that's related to gut health. And then we're going to talk for a moment or two about, is it normal? So I'm excited to just jump right in. So let's talk about gut health for just a moment. It's the In Focus highlight. And, you know, our gastrointestinal system is amazing, you know, what it does for us. And it's so linked to so many other things. And the article spells a lot of that out. I really want to encourage our audience to check this out. But why don't you tell us briefly how the GI system works, maybe. Give us that. And I guess importantly, how do we keep it healthy?
Yeah, well, you know, I think a lot of us just think of the gut as, oh yeah, that's where we digest our dinner and, you know, everything goes through and the nutrients come out. But it really is sort of like, it's the center of so many other activities going on in our body. It's, you know, it's almost, I think we use the word, it's like the information superhighway. There's, the vagus nerve, which goes from the brain all the way down and branching out to the gut, really connects the brain and the gut. You know, this is sort of obvious to anyone who's ever felt, you know, butterflies in their stomach when they're nervous, or a kid who says, I have a stomach ache, I don't want to go to school today because they're anxious. You know, so there's this very strong connection between and it goes both ways. It's like if you're anxious, your stomach can hurt, but also what's going on in your stomach can affect your mood, your cognition. So it's sort of, you know, the highway goes both ways. So that's important. But also, you know, there's all this research that's been done recently about the gut microbiome, and that can affect every aspect of your health. So, you know, basically the gut, the gastrointestinal tract it's filled with trillions of organisms, which are, you know, parasites, bacteria, fungi. Some of it is very helpful, some of it is harmful. And the trick is to sort of, have the proper balance in there, which comes from various things, but a lot of it is through the food we eat. And so we now know that when that's out of balance, it can affect, everything from heart disease and mood and like your skin and your joints. And that also comes with, there's a connection to inflammation in the gut. Inflammation is a word we use a lot in prevention. We have done big sections on inflammation, and just as a quick reminder, that's when acute inflammation is when your body is fighting off an illness, or it's healing an injury. But chronic inflammation is when that system just keeps going and keeps attacking healthy parts of the body. So when there's inflammation in the gut, that can cause a lot of gut issues, which especially the inflammatory bowel disease, which includes Crohn's, colitis. But that inflammation can also affect other parts of the body. So it's sort of, if you think about it, it's everything from your health sort of centers there. So that's why it's so important to take care of it and eat the right foods and exercise and do all those good things.
Thank you for that. I appreciate all of that. When we think about the gut and we hear you talk about the microbiomes, we think about probiotics and prebiotics and even postbiotics. That's what seems to be associated very much. And Karen Ansel, a registered dietitian, has written so much about this. Maybe just summarize, the difference between pre and post, and you give us some of that.
Sure. And this was something, I really learned so much. I edited this piece, and everybody's heard of it. I think we all know about probiotics. In fact, my dog just was on antibiotics for a UTI, and she had to take probiotics with her antibiotics to, keep everything healthy. So I think probiotics have been around for a while. Those are the good for you microorganisms, like we were talking about, like bacteria and yeast that live in your gut. And, you want to have a better ratio of the healthy ones to the unhealthy ones. And so probiotics, benefits for those range from, easing constipation, preventing traveler's diarrhea, as I mentioned, diarrhea or any other GI issues related to taking antibiotics. And I just want to say for all of these, the pre, post, and probiotics, you can get all of these for the food you eat. There are times when supplementation is recommended, but these are all things that naturally we would get through food. So probiotics we can get through fermented dairy, such as yogurt and kefir, and if you do want to take supplements on probiotics, it's recommended that you talk to your nutritionist or your doctor, because specific strains help with specific symptoms. So that's the probiotics. The prebiotics, as Karen explains it, probiotics only work as long as they're in your system. So basically, as soon as you go to the bathroom, you flush the toilet, they're gone. They're out of your system. So prebiotics are what she calls the fertilizer in your gut that helps the friendly bacteria grow. Doesn't have any specific benefits on its own, but it's very helpful to help the probiotics do their thing. And these basically come from carbs we can't digest, so it's the best way to get them is plant foods that are rich in fiber, bananas, asparagus, whole grains. And then the postbiotics, which are sort of the new kid in town, are, so Karen, again, she has such a great way of describing all this. She says, this is what, if prebiotics and probiotics had a baby, it would be postbiotics. And so that's what the body produces after feeding on the other two. So this includes B vitamins, enzymes, amino acids. And, as the bottom line with this is, like, if you eat a very diverse amount of plant-based food, you should be getting all of these through your diet. But if there's certain conditions, especially GI conditions, where it's worth looking into supplementing, and that's when you make sure you talk to your doctor or your dietitian about whether that's right for you.
Yeah, it's an excellent piece. And again, want to encourage our audience to check out this full article. Let's talk a little bit about gastrointestinal disorders. the big one is IBS. You've written this wonderful companion called The ABCs to IBS, right? So tell us a little bit about IBS.
There's a lot of people get confused between IBD and IBS. And IBD is inflammatory bowel disease. And that involves inflammation, that involves ulcers. So those are things, doctors can see. There's tests for them. IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. This is very common. They estimate about 15% of adults suffer from this. This is, it can be running to the bathroom. I've interviewed people who have this in the past who just say they have to always be near a bathroom. They can't go out to restaurants. They have to bring their own food to, family events because they never know what if it's going to trigger it and if they're going to have to run to the bathroom. So because this is not a condition related to inflammation or anything that you can see on, really on an MRI or an X-ray, for many decades, people were told, oh, it's all in your head. And it is now, and stress, it is related to stress. Stress is a trigger, but now the research is finding that it may be related to hypersensitivity of the nerves in the GI tract. So if those nerves, if the signals are working too slowly, that can cause constipation. If they're working too quickly, that can cause diarrhea. It can also cause terrible abdominal pain when you have to go to the bathroom. So, it's a pretty difficult. It can really affect the quality of your life. And there's the three main types. So there's IBS-D, which the primary symptom is diarrhea. IBS-C, primary is constipation, and then there's IBS-M, which means you have both. So, and in this article we sort of go over, in mild cases, they can often be managed with lifestyle changes, which would include, keeping an IBS journal is really important just to see which foods trigger it, or which, if there's stressful moments in your life that trigger your symptoms, and then being able to sort of cut back on those foods or work on stress management strategies. There's also the FODMAP diet, which, it's a whole series of different groups of food that have been known to cause symptoms. So that's a diet where you sort of cut out certain foods a little bit at a time to see how it affects you. So that's, you can look on prevention.com and we have more information about that there. And if those don't work, there are many medications, both over-the-counter and prescription medications, that can help with those conditions.
All good. All really great stuff. Wrap us up here real quickly, because there's also a nice companion entitled 7 Ways to Take Care of Your Gut. Maybe pick a couple and tell us what we need to know about how to take care of our gut. Well,
the first thing really is eating, getting all of that good all those good nutrients, all the biotics we talked about, through a healthy plant-forward diet. So you don't have to be vegan, you don't have to be vegetarian, just getting a lot of different types of plant-based foods, a lot of different vegetables. The Mediterranean diet, which we talk about all the time, has been shown to be, helpful for keeping your gut in check. Another one that, may be a little surprising, but getting enough sleep, and not just enough sleep, but consistent sleep. So it's not just getting that 6, 7, 8 hours a night. It's not throwing off your circadian rhythm by, sleeping till noon on the weekend and then having to get up at 6 on Monday for work. It's just sort of keeping a very consistent bedtime and waking time. Exercising, as I mentioned, walking is actually really good for getting the system moving, getting the, everything to empty out as it should. And then just, really finding ways to manage stress is the other really important one.
That's great. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for all of that. Again, we're talking to Marisa Cohen, who is the deputy editor at Prevention Magazine. We are discussing July's issue of Prevention, really some wonderful stories. The other thing that just caught my eye, and I always love this, and again, the artwork is just fantastic. Within the wellness section titled, "Is This Normal?" It's really, really great stuff. I think that it caught my attention because of the kind of the oddities that are listed.
Right.
Maybe just tell us briefly about a couple of those, because I think our audience will enjoy hearing some of the oddities about our body.
What I want to say about this article is we sort of cover the things that people are a little too embarrassed to ask their doctor.
Right.
And I want to say you should never be embarrassed to ask your doctor, because they have heard everything. So But just in case, we're here to help out. So the couple that, I laughed at, I mean, I shouldn't laugh at these, but because things I've experienced in the past are eyelid twitching. I remember I had a time where my eyelid was driving me crazy. It was twitching, and I realized at one point, how many iced coffees am I drinking each day? So I did cut down. I went to decaf, and that resolved itself. But there are other things that can cause that: anxiety, exhaustion, dry eyes. If you sort of cut down on your caffeine and you're dealing with everything else, you're getting enough sleep, and it's still happening, it's worth a trip to your eye doctor to check it out. And another one was losing hair, because I remember, was it back in 2021, about almost 3 months to the day after the first time I had COVID, I was in the shower and a big clump of hair came out of my head, and I freaked out, and I went and immediately looked online, probably at prevention.com, and found that, having a virus, having something like that can actually, a few months later, cause hair loss. And that resolved itself also. It went away. It happened, for a few days I was, having to clean a lot of hair out of the shower, but after that it worked out. But, that could also be, again, stress related. It can be related to menopause. If it's consistently happening, if you're getting bald spots, if you're really worried, go see your doctor. They can give you a blood test and, see if you have any vitamin deficiencies, anemia, other things that can be a cause of hair loss. So those were two that, immediately I related to. Yes.
Well, thank you for telling us about those. And I am sorry to hear about your dog. Sorry to hear about the hair loss. But
much better now.
Good. Well, we wish her the best and always wish you the best, too. This has been really helpful. We also are going to be talking with Meryl Davids Landau, Marisa, who has written this really excellent piece, This is Your Brain on Climate Change. Maybe send us off with a message about Meryl Davids Landau and this upcoming piece. Maybe.
Sure. So, Meryl, I know you've interviewed her a few times. She is one of our top contributors. I've worked with her on several stories. Every time I edit one of her stories, I learn so much new, interesting information that will make my life better or, really explain things to me. So she's great. Anything she writes, I think is, definitely worth diving into. And at Prevention, we have reported before on how climate change has affected physical health with longer allergy seasons, increased risk of heart and lung disease. But she really takes a deep dive into how it's affecting our mental health. And it's fascinating. And if anybody out there is still debating, should we do something about climate change? Should we vote, for people who are going to help with climate change? You need to read this article.
Yeah, good. Yep. Really, enough said. I mean, thank you very much, Marisa Cohen, Deputy Editor at Prevention Magazine, for joining us for July's discussion about the upcoming issue of Prevention Magazine. Well, as always, congrats on everything, Marisa. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And my best to Jared Ford and Karen Ansell, Meryl Davids Landau. All these pieces are fantastic, so check them out. Thank you, Marisa.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. We're just going to take a quick break before we introduce the next guest. But at the Not Old Better Show, we understand the journey of aging gracefully. That's why we've partnered with Prevention Magazine, your trusted companion in health and wellness for over 70 years. Just like the Not Old Better Show, Prevention Magazine's commitment to your well-being and happiness has never wavered. Join us each month on the Not Old Better Show for exclusive insights from Prevention Magazine. We dive deep into topics that matter to you, from health to happiness. Personally, I've been a long-time Prevention Magazine subscriber, including the All Access plan. You can subscribe to Prevention Magazine to unlock a treasure trove of health and wellness knowledge, and join us here on the Not Old Better Show for in-depth behind-the-scenes information and more. And that's just the beginning. This year, May, June, the rest of 2024 are filled with invaluable insights. This April, for example, we're covering essential topics like sleep tips, the best walking shoes, and ways to battle nausea. Check back with us monthly for our deep dive with these exclusive interviews. I personally recommend Prevention Magazine for staying informed and empowered. So join our vibrant community at prevention.com. The Not Old Better Show and Prevention Magazine, celebrating life together. Visit Prevention Magazine's website at prevention.com. Meryl Davids Landau. Hi, good to talk to you always.
Thanks, Paul. Nice to be here.
I'm always grateful for our conversations. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with us. I have to tell you, I read your article in the July issue of Prevention Magazine. This is your brain on climate change. And really, it was just eye-opening in every way, as so many of your articles are. I always learn so much. I've just enjoyed it. And I went and did some additional kind of, looking into this. And boy, you have covered it so well. What inspired you? I really didn't know about this at all. So we hear about climate change all the time, but you're really tackling some new territory. What inspired you to kind of write about it from this direction?
So actually, I got a copy of a book that was just coming out at the time that has now come out called The Weight of Nature, How a Changing Climate Changes Our Brain by Clayton Page Aldern. Mm-hmm. And that was the book that really inspired this article because he really looked into research from brain science and from economics and from education and, a lot of disparate fields and really found that there's a climate link to a lot of the mental health kinds of issues that we have. We always, for years now, I've been writing about and people have been talking about the physical health effects of climate change, right? Mm-hmm. The way climate change is already, impacting people's cardiovascular health, lung disease.
Right.
And, you can get more waterborne illnesses, more ticks, more allergies. All of these things are things that, we've talked about for several years now. But the notion that climate change can also impact your brain, your in terms of from disease all the way to just how you behave, when you stop and you think about it, you go, well, duh, right?
Yeah, true.
If it's having this major impact on our bodies physically, of course it's going to have an impact on our minds. But, this book really opened my eyes. And actually a second book that I ran into after that called Slow Burn, The Hidden Cost of a Warming World, by Park, Jisung Park. Also, those two books really made it clear that we haven't been talking enough about all the impacts of climate change on our health.
There are really no easy ways to avoid this. This is all around us. And as the world heats up, either we just all live in air conditioning or we all wear masks, but it is a challenge. What are some of the ways that we can help the planet? You have these really nice, you have a section of the article that really is titled 4 Ways You Can Help the Planet and Your Mental Health. Maybe tell us about those 4 ways, because I think there are some really great examples there.
Yeah, so I write about climate a lot, and I think the hardest thing when you're writing about climate is to really think about what can individuals do, right? It always feels so overwhelming. I'm not a government. I'm not ExxonMobil, right? I mean, what can I do as an individual to really make a big difference? And the answer is that there's a lot that individuals can do. So I want to go over these 4 ways that I talk about in the article, but there's actually a 5th way that I didn't include because it didn't come from this one book where these other 4 come from. But the 5th way is that people need to talk about climate change more. Mm-hmm. There have been many studies that found that people think climate change is very important, and yet they don't talk about it as often as you would talk about something that's very important. And that kind of leads us to feel like maybe it's not as important, or maybe I can just ignore it. And, when we have something big going on in our life, we talk about it a lot. And so we really do need to start talking just to each other, just to friends, to family, to whatever. Just it needs to become a bigger part of the conversation. So that was one. But the others come from a book, Not Too Late, by Rebecca Solnit. And actually, this is like an appendix to the book with her advice for what people can do to help the planet. And of course, the most important thing is that we need to encourage the transition away from fossil fuels. And most of that is going to happen from state government, city government, school districts switching to electric buses, or communities switching to electric buses. But some of it is also us switching to rooftop solar if we have our own house and can afford that. it can afford that in the short term, because in the long term, the savings from electricity way outweigh the cost of putting solar on your roof. Same thing with electric vehicles. So there really needs to be a heightened focus on how we can get off carbon burning as a way of helping climate change. Then speaking out is the second point, but here is mostly talking about writing letters to your congressional representatives, making sure that they're listening to community members and what's best for them, and not only the gas and oil lobby, which is massive in this country. Mm-hmm. Banks are investing in climate harming fossil fuel projects, and so they need to be hearing from their deposit holders and investors if people want to stop that. Elections are very important, and this is not only the presidential election, but state government, local government are all responsible for taking steps to improve the energy grid and making sure that it's more carbon, less carbon and more renewables. And then it's very important to connect with other people, because obviously there are power in numbers, not just in terms of making you feel better, in terms of being able to talk to people. That was kind of the first point that I made. Mm-hmm. But even here in terms of taking action, I mentioned two groups in the article, Moms Clean Air Force mm-hmm. and Science Moms, which are about, and Climate Change Makers is another great group. They try to bring people together and teach you how to take the actions that we talked about before, how to talk to your congressional representative, how to insist that your local school district starts buying electric buses instead of diesel buses.
Yeah, thank you for that. There is some positivity to this, and you cite and we'll put links so that our audience can find out more about Moms Clean Air Force as well as Science Moms. And then the third link that we're going to put, and if you could just reference this, because I found this to be very helpful, a book by Rebecca Solnit titled Not Too Late. There are a couple of free downloads that are going to be available at the link, one of which is titled Not Too Late. And so there are some aspects of this story that can lead to some possibilities and to perhaps some positive outcomes. And even though it is in many ways is dire, but this is something that we need to know about, and as you say, talk about. And I wonder if you'll just talk for a second or two about Not Too Late and the downloads that are available, which we will offer links to.
Right. So the download that I cited in the article, it talks about these 4 points, mm-hmm. And others, but mm-hmm. these were kind of the main points mm-hmm. about how to help the planet. And again, it's any book that really is helping us to take control. I mean, I love the title, right? Not Too Late. Yeah. Because it's easy to think, from a climate perspective, we've already passed the point of no return. And that's definitely not true. I mean, before the Paris Peace Agreement, the world was on track. So not that it had, but it was on track to be much warmer by this point in time than it is now, because of actions that have been taken mm-hmm. around the world and in communities. And so even now, even though, it's hot and it is impacting people's mental health and physical health, it's not too late to take these actions. So I think that that's really important. And, one other thing that we didn't talk about that I think is also very important are communities that are directly impacted mm-hmm. by climate change, right? Mm-hmm. So disasters in terms of wildfires, mm-hmm. in terms of hurricanes, in terms of, all the things that floods, right? I mean, these things are all increased already. We're seeing, these 500-year floods happening several times in recent years. And people who live in these communities, I think, really have to be on guard for how this impacts your mental health.
Yeah.
Because, there was a study done after Hurricane Harvey hit Texas in 2017, and months later, the residents were reporting much higher levels of depression and PTSD than average and than other communities. And this is already months later. So I think people really need to give themselves a break. If something happens to your community, even if your home is not affected, but if it hits kind of close to home in that way. If there are wildfires nearby or floods or hurricanes or all of those things, more tornadoes are hitting more areas now. If that happens in your community, even if it doesn't personally affect you, it does personally affect you. And I think people need to be on guard about that and really recognize that. And really recognizing the way climate change affects all of us and the way this heat affects all of us was really kind of the underlying thrust of this article, right? I mean, I opened the piece with, an anecdote, if you're standing outside your office building in a hot summer day and somebody gets a little close to you and you might feel like giving them the bird, right? I mean, you might feel really annoyed that this happened. And that might not be like your natural personality. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important to recognize when situations like that happen and you say, wow, I am more irritable. I am more anxious. I am more whatever than I usually am, to really step back and say, I bet you this is linked to the temperature, to the climate, to the pollutants that are in the air. You can find the pollutants on your phone, on the weather app. It lists the air quality as well as the temperature. And when the temperature is high and the air quality is poor, that's when you really need to be spending as much time as you can indoors and recognizing the ways that it's going to affect you.
Well, congratulations, Meryl Davids Landau. It's always so great to talk to you. I think this is a really powerful article and so important for our times. So thank you, and thanks for your time and going through this in detail. Just want to call everybody's attention to this again. The title of the article by Meryl Davids Landau is "This is Your Brain on Climate Change." It will be appearing in the July issue of Prevention Magazine, and it really goes into some wonderful details about what to expect and how this happens, how and why this happens, along with some really great details about what we can do to help ourselves out. And again, we'll put links so that our audience can find out more information. But Meryl Davids Landau, thank you for your time. My best to you. And I know we'll be talking again soon. This is such a great subject. I hope you do more on this because this is something I'm really interested in. And I know our audience will be too. But congrats.
Thanks, Paul.
I hope you've enjoyed our July 2024 Prevention Magazine interview series with Deputy Editor Marisa Cohen. Today we spoke with Marisa about gut health. We also talked about some interesting facts about our own body health oddities like eye twitches, losing your hair in the shower, plus other is this normal weird moments, and which ones you can ignore and which ones you should get checked out. Our feature interview was with Prevention Magazine byline columnist and returning guest, Meryl Davids Landau. Meryl Davids Landau is a science writer and a novelist, and she joined us today to talk about her article in the July Prevention issue, The Link Between Climate and Our Brains. Thank you, Marisa and Meryl Davids Landau, for your invaluable insights into the July issue of Prevention Magazine. And thank you, our audience, for tuning in. Remember, knowledge is power. It's never too late to live your best life. The Not Old Better Show Prevention Magazine Health and Wellness Interview Series. Check it out. It's the July 2024 issue. It's available now on newsstands everywhere. And please sign up for the Prevention Magazine Premium Program. Everything will be in our show notes today with links, so be well and be safe. And let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show Prevention Magazine Health and Wellness Interview Series. Until next time, stay informed and stay healthy. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next month.